This is the Crosby-Schøyen Codex, and it's the oldest known book in private hands and one of the oldest books in existence.
Eugenio, it's so lovely to meet you. It seems to me that these are real boxes of treasure, so could you decode what's inside?
This dates from the middle of the 3rd century into the 4th, and it contains 2 of the earliest complete texts of the Bible. It contains the earliest complete text of Jonah, of the book of Jonah, and the earliest complete text of the first epistle of Peter.
That's really exciting. So this is a time in history when we're going from a world of polytheism, of many gods, into Christianity. So it's a really revolutionary moment.
This is before any of the texts have been set down in stone. We're only 100 years from the last gospel being written, a couple of 100 years from the life of Christ.
Can I have a look at what's inside?
Of course. So what we have here is the text of the first epistle of Peter. So you'll see it's written in Coptic. What you see here at the top is it says, the letter of Peter. But what's particularly interesting about this bit is that where in other surviving copies of the letters of Peter, they're called the first letter of Peter and the second letter of Peter. We know there are 2. This one just calls itself the letter of Peter. So the scribe either doesn't know that there's a second letter of Peter, or he's copying from an earlier exemplar, from a Greek exemplar that was written before 2nd Peter was actually composed.
Yes.
And as I said, we're all sort of pre-Council of Nicaea here, we're all pre-canon. So this points to an incredibly early date for this manuscript.
I mean, and could really genuinely be kind of a missing link in that early story of Christianity.
Absolutely. Shall I show you another?
Yes, please.
Another little gem. Here you have the first words of Jonah. So it says, Jonas. Yeah. Jonah in the whale, and 3 days and 3 nights in the belly of the whale.
Yeah.
The death and resurrection of Christ. So all of these lead us to think that it was produced as a text for the celebration of Easter in one of the very first Christian monasteries, one of the very first Christian Easter celebrations. So this is possibly the oldest Christian liturgical manuscript.
It's a beautiful hand as well, isn't it? I mean, it's so even.
It's a wonderful hand, and it's the same scribe who writes the whole thing. The first text in this compilation is by Melito of Sardis, who was a late 2nd century bishop of Sardis, and he wrote his Peripascha, which is a homily on Easter.
I mean, that's exciting as well, because Melito is a really interesting character, because Sardis itself is this, beautiful city that was rich in gold, where Croesus came from, and I know Melito is very popular in northern Egypt. It's really thrilling as well to imagine this moment, because this is a time when Christianity isn't fully formed, so we're really in the moment when we're reading these texts.
Absolutely. You can see on this very page the little sewing threads here from when the book would have been stitched together.
When you think of the ancient world, you do imagine these papyri, scrolls and rolls. Yeah. You don't really think of people having a book, but that's quite common, isn't it, when it's liturgical texts, when it's being used by monks or in a church.
The rise of the Codex, the rise of the book form as we know it today, happens in conjunction with the spread of Christianity around the Mediterranean. It's a huge innovation in technology.
Yeah.
Think about, you can write on both sides. It's much more compact.
It's great because it's actually a very user-friendly form, isn't it? Because you've got all the information there and you can flip backwards and forwards and check things out. I mean, it is very, very modern.
This is the invention of the book as we know it today. And it's the kind of technical revolution, innovation that wouldn't be surpassed until the printing press in the 15th century. So we're at a real pivotal time in the history of the book here.
It's in beautiful condition. There must be a story about its preservation.
Well, I mean, it's largely due to the, the sort of conducive climatic conditions of Egypt. The dry sands of Egypt, and that's why these things are preserved so well.
It's really exciting for me to be so close to it. It must be thrilling for you because it's so beautiful and it's so meaningful.
Absolutely. It is very much a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Things like this don't come across my table very often. To have worked with one of the oldest books in existence has really been a fantastic honour.